Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of AZ Security. My name is Dylan Paardenkoper, I'm a cloud security architect at IT Impressive. And for today I have a special guest and that is Richard. Richard, can you introduce yourself please?
Hi, thank you, Dinant. Thank you for having me in this session.
You're
I'm
welcome.
a cloud consultant at Innvolve. I'm working with Intune, Entra, and that kind of stuff for at least 15 years now.
Wow, that's long.
Quite a long time. Yeah, I started with SCCM, that kind of stuff, always at the endpoint part of Microsoft.
Okay. So the topic for today is CloudPKI with Intune
Yes,
in,
correct.
in combination with the Entra Certificate-based authentication, right?
Correct. We combined it so that we have the Intune Cloud PKI and also have certificate-based authentication so that we can use passwordless, but also have phishing-resistant MFA methods available for these users.
All right, awesome. For everybody who's new to the PKI, can you shortly explain what it is?
Yes, like I think most people already know, PKI environments are certificate environments so that you can publish a certificate to a user or a device so that they can authenticate with the certificate instead of using passwords or secrets or that kind of stuff. And now Intune has CloudPKI. It's a tool that can be used to publish these certificates without having to set up a full PKI environment, which was back in the days a bit of a hassle. You had to set up multiple servers. One server was the root server that always had to be turned off, sometimes had to be turned on to perform some security features. So back in the days, it was a bit of a hassle.
I totally agree. I'm glad this feature is now available.
I think it's good then to switch over to some small slides I prepared. Okay, so what I just mentioned already, Cloud PKI is since July part of the Microsoft 365 E5 license. It's very quickly to configure. I will show you later on in the session. We don't have to build up a complex IT infrastructure because everything for this is managed within Intune. And likewise, we have a seamless integration with Microsoft Intune. The backside of this is that it's only useful for Intune managed devices. So we only can publish the certificates to devices that are managed by Intune. And those devices need to support the Intune device configuration profile, the SCAP profile. Almost every type of device that we can manage within Intune supports that. So we can also support Windows, but also Android, macOS, and iOS.
Nice.
And the backside is that we only can configure a maximum of 3 certificate authorities. And this can be one root CA with 2 intermediates or 2 root CAs. So maybe you will have one root CA where you will publish all kind of types of certificates, and then you specify it with your intermediate that only these certificates can be given, and from the other intermediate, the other kind of certificates can be published, so that you can specify it to specific users or devices.
And Richard, is it that Microsoft managing the operating system all beneath? So only the PKI is as a service, right?
Yes, it's PKI as a service. So the only thing that you are managing is the certificate information itself, so not the back end of it. They totally provide you a full service to provide your clients a certificate. In this screen, we can also see how Intune is managing it, but also how the certificate is being published to the device, and also how the validation of the request is going. So you have a cloud PKI service that's deployed via a SCAP service to your devices. And when that SCAP service is provided, the certificate to your devices is getting a validation and checking it against the backend of your cloud PKI within Intune. What we have done is combined it with Entra certificate-based authentication so that our users can log on into every service that they're connecting to with their Entra managed account, so that they have a passwordless authentication, it's phishing resistant, and it's seamless. So you don't have to provide a authenticator or a code or a SMS code like we had back in the days, or even if you have the passkeys like nowadays, that you have to scan the QR code from a second device. So this process will make it a lot easier for these users to sign in.
Indeed, and it's the strongest method, right?
It's the strongest method, together with the FIDO keys, Windows Hello, and like I said, passkeys. Great feature where we could use it is in a situation that you want to have a machine that's not managed by Windows Hello. So maybe if you will set up a PAW workplace for your administrators that they only can log on to, you provide a certificate to them and they can log on with that specific device and specific account into their admin portals with a certificate.
Yes. And do you use it quite a lot with your customers, Richard?
We have some customers that we're already using it right now. So most of them are for the suppliers of these customers. We provide them a virtual desktop. They don't log in with MFA into that virtual machine itself. They only log in with MFA into the Windows app, and they log in with a separate account, an admin account, to the desktop. And within that desktop, they get provided the certificate so that they still can log in security-wise. I think now it's a great time to switch over to our portals so that I can show you how quickly and easy we can set up the Intune CloudPKI and also provide Entra the options to authenticate with these certificates. Like I just already mentioned, this is the information that Microsoft provided at the end of last year. Let me quickly make it a bit bigger. In here we can see that Intune CloudPKI is added to the Microsoft E5 license. So every customer with an E5 license will have these capabilities from now on.
Nice.
So let's head over to the Intune Admin Center and then go to the tenant administration. Over here we have the tab CloudPKI. In some previous demos I already prepared a root and a issuing CA. We can now build another one because I only have two at this moment. So let's create a new root certificate. And we need to provide some specific configuration settings. CA type, so we can choose for a root CA and issuing CA. We also have to provide a validity period, so how long will this root certificate be valid? Be aware that the validity period of the root CA is always longer than your issuing CA. So if we provide a validity period for 10 years here, we can't select 10 years for our issuing CA. That always will be 8, 6, or even shorter amount of time. We can select a CA key. For this demo, we will use a software key because I don't have any hardware security models and it's a bit of an expensive option.
If I use the HSM, for instance, the managed HSM of Microsoft, could I also use that key creation or created key from there into this?
Yes, you can use it over there. Also, in the further step, if we going to create the issuing CA, we also could use a root certificate that we have ourselves. So we don't have to create the root CA always from within Intune. We can also use another root CA. The back thing is that the client that's connecting to with the certificate also has the ability to access the root CA or get the root CA onto that device. Like I mentioned earlier, we can use the root CA for multiple key usages. So for just server authentication, client authentication, that can be device or user, even code signing, email protection, or even smart card login. Be aware that everything that you select here can only be selected in your issuing CA. So if you don't select, for example, client authentication, you can't provide your issuing CA to provide cloud authentication certificates. So you always have to create a new root CA for that.
Does this also mean, like, I'm forgetting one of the settings in my root, that I cannot change it afterwards?
Correct. You can't change that. So you always have to create a new one or an extra one to provide that.
And behind the scenes, if it's created, is it then also being offline, or is it always online in your tenant?
If we
the root
publish
CA.
this certificate to our clients and it's working on that client, you can use it offline. But yeah, the backside is that you have to deploy the certificate already to the device. So if it's not on the device, you can't use it. But if you fully publish the certificate to your device, so the root and the issuing, you should be able to use it offline. Over here, we need to provide some details for the certificate.
Well, I am getting happy that you're creating for me a certificate authority.
Yeah, let's make it for this demo specifically for your topic. Here we can also select three kind of key sizes. So the 1024 isn't available anymore. For the most parts, this algorithm and size is enough to provide a good and secure key for your client authentication. You can even scope it if you want it for Intune to scope it to specific groups or departments or that kind of stuff. And now we can check the information. Did we do everything right? And then we select create. Within a few minutes, mostly a few seconds, the root CA is created. What will take a bit longer is the option to select the root CA when we're creating an issuing CA. So maybe that's the minutes that Microsoft is telling us about. So let's check if it's already possible to select the root CA for our issuing CA. Here we will select the issuing CA, and then we can see that we can select a root CA from Intune. So that's the CloudPKI environment from Intune, or we can bring our own root CA. And like we can see,
there he is.
There it is.
So it can take up 5 minutes or so, right?
Yeah, it can take a few minutes. So that are the few minutes that Microsoft is mentioning when creating the root CA. Over here we can see that our issuing CA can't be longer valid than the root CA.
What if my sub CA is expired within those 10 years and I'm in year 8? Can I then create a new sub CA, or do I totally create a new root CA first?
That's a great question. Didn't have that checked before because yeah, this CloudPKI in Intune is quite new, so didn't check that information. It's a good one to check after this session. Then if we have the information, I will update it in the comments.
That's good. Some other question. As you
Yeah.
mentioned, with this certificate, you can use the authentication, right?
Yeah,
For
correct.
your workstations or your clients. Can you also, or do you know if the roadmap of Microsoft is also being extended to other services in Azure, for instance, AKS or other services as well? Will that come in the future? Do you know?
I don't know if that's on the roadmap already because they've created a Intune Cloud PKI. I don't think that will be on the roadmap, but
yeah,
I don't have that information. So
okay, we will see.
I assume because they turned it into Intune Cloud PKI, they will use it for their Intune managed devices and the users that are working on that device. Head over. In the previous section, we selected only client authentication for our root certificate. So, like I mentioned, we only can select client authentication now. If we want to have more options, then we need to create a new root CA. Provide a nice name for your issuing CA. And then over here we can see that the encryption for this issuing CA is already selected for you because your root CA has this key size, so you can't select any other key sizes. Let's review our settings again, and then we can create the phishing sys. Okay, and now it's created. Now let's head over to publishing the root and issuing CA to our clients, but also provide a SCEP certificate to let our devices authenticate with this certificate. We will go to configurations, and then we will create a trusted certificate within Intune. We can select all kind of platforms. I can also show you that it's even available for iOS, because we have a SCEP certificate policy here and also a trusted certificate. We can also use that for Intune managed devices or Android enterprise devices. So we have SCEP certificates and also can publish the trusted certificate. For this demo, I will use the Windows 10 device and then later.
And do I have to create it 3 times if I'm using different kind of operating systems? For instance,
Yes.
Android.
Yes, you have to create multiple trusted certificate policies and also SCEP profiles. Forget one thing, because we need to download these certificates first to our clients before we can select them in the setting. So let's go back to tenant administration. You can see all kind of settings over here from our certificate that we've created. We will download the certificate, and also we will copy the CRL. We will need to have that in a later action. Select the issuing CRL. Provide it into the computer store. Assign it to all our devices, and we've created the policies. Now that we can publish the certificates to our client, we will also want to have a client certificate from these root and issuing CAs. So we now will create a SCEP certificate. SCEP protocol can be used to enroll certificates to your clients. Now we can select if we will want to have a user or a device certificate. So the user certificate can be used, for example, certificate-based authentication. But if you will deploy a device certificate, that could be used for Wi-Fi profiles, VPN profiles, or other kind of profiles where your client device need to authenticate to. You can select the validity period for your certificate. Don't make it too long, because it will renew itself within.
What's the smallest certificate period?
You can even put it into 1 day if you want, but then it will renew after every 3 or 4 hours a day if you just work like 8 hours a day. Now you can provide the option where you want to store the certificate. Enroll it into your TPM is always one of the best parts. So you can also enroll it for Windows Hello for Business. For this case, because we want to authenticate our client or our user with an Azure portal, we will put it into the TPM storage. And if KSP is present, otherwise use a software KSP. You can select multiple key usages, so a digital signature or a key encipment. This is also a thing where I think, could be improved from Intune side, because if we had be able to select our root CA, why not also be able to only select the key size that is in our root CA?
And that's a bit weird indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, then again, maybe there are reasons why you want to lower because it has to authenticate to legacy systems.
Yeah, correct. Like over here, we can select the root certificate. That is the part where the trusted certificates that we've created will be used. So select the root CA that we've just created as a trusted certificate profile. And over here, we can select the extended key usages. So the key usages that we had selected in the root CA. So you can select any purpose, but also can directly specify it to client authentication or for secure email. If you should select device, there will be other predefined variables available. And over here you can see the renewal threshold. So when there's still 20% of the length, it will already checking to renew the certificate. So if you will put it into 1 day, yeah, most of the times after 6 hours it will try to renew your certificate again.
That can
And
come
you
in
will
handy.
get a lot of network load.
Indeed.
Okay, let's check. So we've copied the scapulary. That's the URL that we want to paste here. As we can see here, it provides CloudPKI within these brackets. So Intune will always see by itself that it will get the URL from its own CloudPKI. We will also provide it to all our devices. So every user that's logged into a device that's managed by Intune will get this certificate. Double check your settings again, and then we can create it.
And how quickly is it active?
Let's check, because I have a virtual machine running at the moment. So I will let this machine sync against Intune. I'll do that in the background, and then we can head over again to Intune to see that these policies are being published to the device. Most of the time it will be very, very quick. Most of the time will take some few minutes, so I can already show it within a previous demo that I've done. We can see here that our previous issuing CA has one active certificate. That is deployed to our user and as an active certificate issued with a validity of 1 year. And that certificate is on the client device at that moment. So we now have configured everything within Intune. Now we want to be able to authenticate with this certificate with our Entra managed users. So I'll switch over to Entra, and then we will go to security. We have to create a PKI infrastructure in Entra for that. So that's a simple container where we again will add our created root CA and issuing CA.
That is just uploading your certificate?
Uploading the certificate again, and then provide the CRL that we've copied in the previous step. And then you can select if it is a root CA or not. So likewise, the root CA will be the root CA. You can enable issuer hints. That's a great thing for your users to do, because they will see a full list of all the certificates that the user has available. They only will see the certificate that is mentioning to this root CA. Save it. And then also add the issuing CA for that. Not necessary to provide a CRL, but it always be better that your certificate can check against his CRL that the certificate is valid. When that's done, we have to go to authentication methods, and we have to configure certificate-based authentication. Enable the setting. Always better to do that for a selected group of users, that only the selected group of users will be able to authenticate with these certificates. So do that, for example, your high privileged administrator accounts that do not log in into the normal devices where Windows Hello is already configured. And you can also exclude specific groups if you don't want them to be able to authenticate with a certificate. Over here, we can require the CRL validation. So if we provided the CRL in the PKI within Entra, it can validate if this CRL is still valid and still be useful for that. Over here, we provide the issuer hints so that the users that authenticate with the certificate will only see the certificate from this specific root CA. You can provide the default authentication strengths so that certificate-based authentication will be used as a single factor or as the multi-factor authentication and enable the bindings. When that's done, you can select the issuing CA that you've added into your Entra PKI environment. So you select the certificate issuer, select if it is a classic CA or ACA from your PKI environment that you've created within Entra. So now we will select the Intune PKI. That was the name that I provided to the PKI environment. And then we can select all kind of certificates that are assigned to that specific PKI environment. So the issuer, so we will select the issuing CA for this. Select that we will use a multi-factor authentication. And for this demo, I provided a low binding.
What is your best practice on the settings which you discussed so far? Just multi-factor and the affinity binding upload?
Yeah, you could use both. Yeah, I don't have a really good best practice for this because we already have a strong authentication to the clients where they're logging into for this. So for this situation, these settings will do well. So we now have the certificate issuer here, and you could even select more bindings for your certificate. For this example, we will use the principal name, so the UPN of the user. That will be checked onto the certificate, but you can also add multiple more rules to even check the issuer and the serial number or the subject key identifier. And if you can see, these will have high affinity bindings. So if you only will use these two, the low setting is enough. If we will use more, then if you will put the affinity binding too high, you need at least also have an affinity binding to your rules with a high affinity. Otherwise, it will not work. We will save this. So now our PKI environment is be able to log in, is created, so our users are be able to log in into the environment.
Nice.
So that's the configuration part of the demo that I've prepared for you.
Well, it looks very promising, and I love the way that it integrates with Entra. Maybe not all the screens so far, but at least the possibility to also make your authentication stronger, which in my beliefs, it's helping in the best practices all the way. One question that is popping up, like if my certificate is expired, will Entra also notify you, or is it something within Intune that will notify you?
Entra will not notify you when your certificate is expired, but if you want to authenticate at that moment, you will be declined. So you can't authenticate with that expired certificate.
That's good to know. Richard, if I recap our session, which in the case what you have shown and told us, and you want to rephrase it in a few sentences, what would it be?
If you want to use better, stronger authentication for your clients, Intune CloudPKI is a great and easy feature to use. And a nice add-on is that it's free for your E5 licenses, but it's included now. So it's a great add-on to provide better security for your users.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Richard, I want to thank you for your time, also for your great explanation and a great way to talk us through to all the settings which are required. And it looks very easy, so to speak. Of course, with your explanation, what we are activating, of course. But I want to thank you for this great demo.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time. And maybe see you next time.
Let's do that. We will round up for today. For everybody at home, I want to thank you for your time, also for watching. If you have any thoughts or ideas, please leave them below. For otherwise, I would say take care until next time.
Thank you.